Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the Chabad of Delmar, and we're going to be talking today about a very important subject, and that's depression. Now, you say, well, what's they have to do with the Jewish view? But it's very, very important, and I'll say the founder of the Hasidic movement 250 years ago, the Baal Shem Tov, he said there's a mitzvah commandment that's the biggest commandment, but it's not one of the 613 commandments. And he said there's a sin, it's the biggest sin you can do, but it's not, again, part of that 613 commandment package. Well, what is it? What's the riddle? And he says being happy. I mean, it's not an exact commandment to be happy, so that's why he's saying it, and there's no real commandment, do not be depressed. You won't find that in the Bible. But on the other hand, it's the most important of the mitzvahs, because, listen, we know it for ourselves. If you're happy, you're up to something, you want to do it, you're going to get up early, you're going to do it with the best of your ability. I love doing it. You see many times, we'll say sometimes for work, why are you staying later at work? I love what I'm doing. It's not really work. People have hobbies and they go out, they put out their money for the hobbies. What are you going to gain out of it? You make money? No. What are you doing it for? I love doing it. And on the other hand, if people are depressed, why are you staying in bed? Why don't you come and join us? I don't feel like it. So really understand what the Baal Shem Tov was saying, that to be happy is the greatest motivator, and on the other hand, being depressed is you're going to do the least possible, and like I say, even to some people, stay in bed. So with saying that, many people, you can't just say don't be depressed and yes, be happy. You have to talk it out. The basic work of Hasidic philosophy, the Tanya, does talk about it. And on the other hand, that even though that was 200 years ago, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, the present Rebbe, did deal with it. People wrote to the Rebbe, hey, I'm having problems. What can I do? And the Rebbe gave, like he always does, the most beautiful advice. So let's read a few of the letters from the Rebbe. So we don't know what the letter that they wrote to the Rebbe. You can understand from what the Rebbe's response is. He said, being depressed, bear in mind the following points. Number A, 1, there can be no question that tshuva, repentance, is effective in every case. Whatever the transgression, for tshuva is one of God's commandments. This is also why some people just do get depressed for no reason. I know that. But certain times there's reasons to get depressed. Either it's physical, someone's sick, someone passed away. I mean, I am a rabbi, so I counsel people I know. They lost their job. So there's real reasons they could say, hey, I'm depressed for this reason, and it's obviously a decent reason. And other times people are depressed because maybe they messed up. I really messed up royally. What a schmo am I? So a person could feel depressed about that. I'm no good. I didn't live up to my expectations. All these kind of ideas. And the Rebbe's answering this person. He says you could always do tshuva. Torah allows a person, first of all, they know we're human beings and no one is perfect. God understands that. The Torah understands that. And therefore that they gave you a medicine, so to speak, if you want to say it that way, a way of healing, and that's doing repentance. And once a person repents, God says, well, you still did wrong. No, your repentance, your slate becomes clean. And God does not require of us the impossible. So if we're able to do it, we're human beings. I always say, didn't say everything's easy and nothing's difficult, because that's not true. But it is in our capabilities. That is also true. And if God says, hey, do something, like I say, may be difficult, but it's surely not impossible. And Bays is likewise certain that any kind of depression, despondency, or sadness as a result of agonizing over past sins is a trick of the Yetzer Hara, which is the evil inclination to discourage one from serving God. Again, it's the same idea, that we have an evil inclination, and one of the tricks is, you're no good, you're lousy, you're worthless, all these kind of terrible expressions that really have nothing to do with Judaism, but that's what people feel and what's going to be the result of it. Bottom line, I'm no good. I won't do any more. I'm a loser. You lost. Why should I keep going? So that's then becomes one thing leads to another. It becomes cyclical, and that obviously becomes very, very terrible for a person's service. So that's one of the evil inclination's tricks. I advise you from now on to stop weighing and dwelling on things that are of no practical value, and especially the kinds of thoughts that only lead to despondency. Rather, place every increasing effort on the performance of Torah and the mitzvahs. The Rebbe's always theme is do something positive, get yourself out of it. Stop dwelling on bad things or how good no good you are. Just forget about it. Put out of your head that yes, certain times there is repentance. There is Yom Kippur. We do have to think about it sometimes, but it really has nothing to do with us in the middle of the day when we should be doing something positive, and just to start thinking, yeah, why should I do it? It's no good anyway. I'm no good. Just get it out of your mind and just do something positive. There's another letter. With regard to your inclination towards a feeling of sadness, a useful remedy for this is to have firmly engraved in your mind that God, the creator of the world, watches over everyone individually. Since he is the essence of goodness, there is therefore no room for sadness or worry. The concept has been explained at length in various parts of the Tanya. At the back of the Tanya, there you can look at it. I quoted the Tanya already, which is the basic work of Chabad Hasidus. It's very, very important, and it's very interesting that even though it's a handbook how to serve God, about 3-4 chapters, very, very interesting, deals with exactly this subject about how it's important to be happy. You should remove sadness from your heart and your mind. It's very, very important. So certain things that the Tanya does talk about, like I said before, there could be maybe real issues. Sometimes they're not real issues at all about being sad, but sometimes they're real issues. And if it's physical things, you have to remember, like he said, that God created everything. And again, we said it a little bit before, that God's in charge and he threw you a curveball, but you're able to hit it back. I always say that certain things are impossible in the world. If I told you just go to college and become a rocket scientist, hey, that isn't me. So I could tell you, or parents tell you, they want this from you and that from you, and maybe truthfully you just really cannot accomplish that. So that could be true, but God knows us, and if he gave us a situation, then he knows that we're able, with a little more effort, truthfully, we're able to overcome any difficulty. It would be especially good for you to commit memory the passage in Tanya, the beginning of chapter 41, second line from the bottom. He doesn't say it here. Actually, I had a friend who the Rebbe, this is not to my friend, it's a letter to someone, but my friend, actually, the Rebbe told him this, also wrote to him that idea where it says in chapter 41, God fills the whole world, he's everywhere. This idea, God doesn't see, he doesn't notice, he fell asleep. It's totally wrong, and people do have that attitude. He's right here, he's in total control, and if he gave you that situation, he knows that you'll be able to overcome it. Whenever you feel sad or depressed, review that section in your mind or recite it orally. This will assist you in eliminating these undesirable emotions. You write in your letter about depressed state of mind. As known, there are many matters that exist wholly outside the person. Other mental health issues, such as neurosis or psychosis, at least exist within the individual's inner sense of reality and self. And finally, there are those matters whose entire existence and reality is a result of the person thinking about them. The more you dwell on things, the more they become a real thing. Although it would seem that when thinking about a certain thing whose entire existence is predicated on the thoughts about the matter, I would almost say your own illusions or fantasies, there is no difference whether or not his thoughts refer to a factual reality, but in truth is not so. There always exists within the individual the ability to examine his feelings and their degree of authenticity and certitude. This assessment affects a person even when his capacity to make a reality check is concealed, or to use the common vernacular, lies within his subconscious, which can then be recovered. So again, the more you put in your mind, or you, like I was saying, when we're like fantasizing different things or awfulizing situations. I know a lot of people say, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if someone dies? What would I do? What do you mean if? It's not going to happen if. Maybe it won't happen. So why are you dwelling on things, like I say, that are not in reality? Deal with what you can, what does happen, and like we said, if it does happen, you can deal with it. You can't deal and see what's going to be fantasizing. Oh, it'll be a nuclear war. What's going to happen? There's no nuclear war, and we're going to deal with the world that we see it, and don't have to awfulize, like I say, situations. Many people do. Clearly, the thoughts and feelings that you are now experiencing emanate from the latter of the three forms of reality. They only exist because you insist about thinking about them. Such types of thoughts and feelings are much easier to get rid of. I mean, if, like I said before, if there's a reality, someone's sick, they're sick, you have to deal with it. Find a doctor, a medicine, a this, a nursing home, something, you have to deal with it. But if it's a fantasy, just get rid of it. There's nothing, those solutions that you have to deal with. Quite often they dissipate on their own by simply ceasing to think these thoughts, either a cessation resulting from an external factor, such as through an intervention by another person, or brought about by the person's own resolve to stop thinking about them. We verily observe that hundreds and thousands of people who found themselves in the same frame of mind as you do now were able to rid themselves of these feelings without it having any lasting effect on them at all. This is very important to also, because if you know someone else dealt with it and handled it, well, if they did it, I can too. So that's also a very positive idea. You know that you're not the only one in this situation, which unfortunately no one is by themselves, because a lot of people are depressed, from which we understand that this can ultimately be achieved even by those who still retain some vestige of these feelings. These statistics may not be so well known, merely because it is human nature to greatly publicize those matters that are entirely in the minority, or those matters that are truly uncommon, meaning individuals whose feelings of gloominess overwhelm them, while the more common experience of people gaining control of their feelings is not publicized at all. And I also want to bring this out. We know how the newspapers try to, make everything into a big headline. Someone committed suicide. Someone did this, something awful. And statistics of suicide. And I know they're always publicizing these kind of ideas. So you say, oh, see, people are having terrible lives, just like me. But like the Rebbe is saying, they don't tell you the good news in the newspaper. Hey, this person was depressed and they overcame it and now they're happy. You're not going to see that story in the newspaper. You're going to see some terrible tragedy, and they love glorifying that. So that's what I'm saying. You have to know what the real statistics are. People all have depressing thoughts in their head. It's a real thing. A person's not alone, and many people know how to overcome them. Unfortunately, there are people who don't overcome them, and we said that. But on the other hand, that they know that it's really few people that really are tragedies, and most people handle their depression. Thus, even with minor reflection, we realize that it is incumbent upon each and every one of us to fulfill our mission in the world, meaning to increase luminosity within the world, and particularly within our own environs, by strengthening and disseminating the light of life in consonance with the directives of our Torah, the Torah of life. The main thing is to achieve life, and maybe I would even say is even help somebody else out. Many times, it's said before, many times you think, well, you have it bad. Go and help someone in a hospital. Like I said, people are in the nursing home. Go visit them. I just even know locally, my son runs a kosher pantry. People without food. And there's people in the nursing home. My wife goes to nursing homes all the time and cheers people up. See what real problems are, and you'll be happy with what you have in life many, many times. Do something positive. Make someone else happy, and you'll see you'll become happy yourself. Since this is the case, we do not even have the luxury of the available time that it takes to contemplate thoughts about ourselves. Thoughts of the type that you have been having, meaning if you're doing something positive, you won't be just sitting there and dwelling and feeling sad about yourself and your situation. And although at the beginning it's not easy to replace thoughts concerning ourselves with thoughts concerning our purpose in God's world, with time and practice it becomes easier to switch our thoughts, particularly so when we do all the above with joy. And again, this is what we're talking about, being happy what you're doing. Hey, you're doing something positive. You're helping other people. Be happy about it. The foundation of the joy being that with the Rambam, Maimonides writes, the conclusions of the laws of Lulav, which is about Sukkot, concerning the vital importance of serving God joyfully. So even though we're bringing out the Hasidic philosophy, which I said started 250 years ago, on the other hand, Maimonides, who's 1,000 years ago, he said it's so important if you're just going to do a commandment and you're going to go schlepping, doing it. By yourself, I know with my kids, could you do something? Oh, okay, maybe I will. I'll get to it. Oh, may. You know what? I don't feel good about that. I didn't ask them for something impossible. Clean up your room and help mommy out. So what do you have to do? You're schlepping it out and feeling bad about it. Hey, fine. Father said something, mother said something. It's the right thing to do. You can help out in the house or whatever it is. Give me a hand. You don't have to feel depressed about it and feel sad about it. If you have something good about it, then, you're doing the right thing and you can feel happy doing that. I think we have time for one more letter. These are beautiful. I hope you'll enjoy them as much as I do. You write that you feel depressed as it seems to you that you have not succeeded in your studies at a yeshiva or the rabbinical school to the extent that you expected, even assuming that you're completely correct in your appraisal. Again, this is it. I know many people, they're getting good grades in school. Oh, I'm no good. I'm not intelligent. I can't get. Well, you got the grades. The teachers aren't giving you a present. If you got a good grade, then you are good. Even assuming that you are completely correct in your appraisal, this would still be no reason for feeling depressed. So even if you can't, so you do something else. Even if you're not getting good grades, so find something good. You don't get depressed. Again, do something positive. For as explained in many sources, especially Tanya, even in the case of spiritual failure, no Jew should feel depressed, for a feeling of depression and gloom is in itself one of the strategic weapons used by the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, in an effort to discourage a person from serving God with joy and alacrity. So we said this before, the Rebbe brought this out, that it's a way of once you get depressed, you're going to do less, and the evil inclination knows that also. And when the evil inclination succeeds in one thing, such as in discouraging you from studying, as you write, he goes out to further things. He gets you in your grip, so one thing goes cyclical, one thing goes down from one level to another. The way to combat the Yetzer Hara, the evil inclination, is explained in Tanya, to call forth redoubled effort on your part to overcome the feeling of depression, replacing with feeling of joy. You can accomplish this by recognizing that whatever one's past has been, it is still always possible to attach to God through the study of the Torah and the observance of mitzvahs. Again, doing something positive with yourself, and even if you messed up, reconnect yourself. Don't ever give up. In the case of persistent distraction, the well-known illustration used in the Tanya is to imagine that a heathen is standing nearby while one is in the midst of prayer and trying to distract one from concentrating on prayer and study. Someone's bothering you, don't yell at them, just get away from them, just don't deal with it. In such a case, one would certainly not blame himself for being distracted. Rather, one would redouble his efforts to concentrate on a prayer or study, completely ignoring the outside distraction. Thus, in the final analysis, it is up to a person to overcome the difficulties by his own efforts and determination. So we have already been assured that when there is determined effort, success is certain. Moreover, it is quite possible in your case that you have truly underestimated your success, kind of what I brought up before, and your belief to the contrary, that you have not succeeded, is merely a result of a thought implanted in your mind by the Yetzer Hara, your evil inclination, in order to succeed in making you feel glum and downhearted. Well, we're out of time, but I think this is a very important subject, and I hope you enjoyed it. And the main thing is to be happy.